Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Monday morning trading room. I trust you had an enjoyable weekend. Mine was far too busy, but what else is new? Oh dear. All right. So the market's off to an interesting start this morning. Friday's session, as we suspected, really settled in after the early rally. The afternoon, as you can see, very, very quiet. A little bit of a gap pre-market here, but still very quiet. So the market opening a little bit higher, but not really strong. Not yet, anyway. So we'll see how they deal with that as we give them a few minutes to settle in. This now the daily chart, and there was Friday's session. So the strong move came early on, the market managing to close relatively high. So at this point, if we consider that the market is potentially in a large sideways range, we would anticipate sellers to become more active down here and buyers more active down here. Certainly, as we get closer to the 7,200 zone, I think it's probably going to encourage a lot of additional sellers to come forward. Whether or not that actually pushes the market lower, well, that remains to be seen. In the meantime, we'll just let them sort things out here a little bit. For those of you who like your first in sync eagle signal, well, there you go. You're pretty much right off the opening bell, we got a buy signal. Also, the red bar buy off the hard edge tends to be a fairly reliable signal. All right, let's put that away for now. So we're really flip-flopping here. Still sideways. That's the theme of late. All right, so we've got things starting to look at, a little bit more bullish. And again, it's still very early. We're not even 5 minutes into the day yet. The eagle looking bullish, of course. The raptor here, the band also bullish. Now that the band is back in sync, if we have a little bit of a pullback here and another buy signal, that will actually produce a #1 signal for us. a first micro macro cross on the hawk. So there's definitely some bullishness early on here. I am a little bit of a chicken right out of the gate, though. I'll be the first to admit that. All right, well, there's the signal, if you wanted to go for it. Like I said, I'm not so sure myself. Here we are pressing the overnight highs. I may give the market a few more minutes here to actually, like I said, settle in before I get too ambitious. Have we had a pullback yet? No, I guess not. We need a little bit of a pullback after the clouds cross in order to complete the number one signal. That is one of the components of the number one signal, is that your clouds change direction. So in this case, the cloud was bearish. Now it's stacked in a bullish fashion. So this is when the clouds are bullish. This is what we call the soft edge. This is what we call the hard edge. And when they're stacked this way, it's telling us the market is bullish. When they're reversed, when they're stacked the other way, they're telling us the market conditions are bearish. But when they change direction and there's a little bit of a pullback, and then the market continues in the new direction of the clouds, that is what will produce a number one signal. That's essentially a trend change signal on the Raptor. So here the clouds were out of sync. Now they're back in sync. This now the pullback. Excuse me. And if the market rallies from here, it will produce a number one signal. So it's helpful to know these things so that you can anticipate the signals as they develop. Our first micro macro cross signal got up, hit its high probability profit objective. Now it's reversing a little bit. The Falcon, also bullish, hasn't produced a signal yet, but it may be producing a late filter entry signal. That is also tends to be a very strong signal for the Falcon. So there's a couple of things here right now making the market look a little bit, perhaps a little bit more bullish. Well, it's still early, but you know what? I may give this Raptor trade a go if we get the number one signal. That should coincide with the late filter entry signal that we're going to get on the Falcon. The Hawk, being a scalping tool, is going to produce signals a little bit earlier. And we are producing a macro pullback signal in the Hawk. So for those of you who just looking to scalp a trade, there you go. All right, so far we're going to get the macro pullback. Like I said, that's going to coincide here with the signal that we're getting here on the Raptor. I'm just going to buy into the order with my buy button. I'll leave my stops a little bit further back to start. And maybe with a little bit of luck, we'll get some early momentum that we can capitalize on. The market's still, moderately bullish. They haven't really pulled back too far, but if we don't get above this current high of the morning here, this 71.22 half zone, things could get a little dicey. Big push. There we go. All right, we got the break even. Come on. Oh, don't turn around just yet. Stinkers. Just flinched a tick or two before my profit objective. Well, here we go again. We do have another chance to buy in on one of our discretionary signals. It doesn't really fall into the high probability category, but it is a signal all the same. And it's one of these follow-up or discretionary signals. I'm not so sure. We didn't see the follow-through. We should have seen some follow-through. And maybe my stops were just a little bit too quick. As is often the case with my trading. Well, all right. Well, what we can do here is we have a second push opportunity. The second push simply means we allow the signal to engage, and then we see where the market reacts. It hasn't really flinched. Oh, I think they slipped me a tick there too. 2 ticks. All right, for some reason the market seems a little on the thin side. No, that's not what I was looking for. All right, well, I will stretch that out to the next resistance zone. but the buyer's got to get busy here. It's unfortunate this little swing here tagged us out of break even, because it would have gotten high enough to find the first profit target. And the first trade, I actually had 2 contracts in play, but the slippage, the lack of volume being a little problematic. Actually, what I'll do is I will extend my break even a little bit as well, just because the market is so, well, quiet. Come on. Boy, oh boy, the market really respecting this resistance line here at 71.29. Come on, just give us a little bit of a push over top. All right, what I'm going to do is on the next rally attempt, we'll see if the market breaks through. Great. Otherwise, I will look for a break-even tag. Come on. Now, if you wanted, you could be ultra aggressive and you could start squeezing the trade really hard. You could bring your stops up underneath this last little swing right here, because we've essentially got the market pinched right now. Oh, I think they're going to tag me out. Yeah. All right, well, there you go. That's the kind of morning it is. Not Monday-like at all. So now that the highs seem to be holding, it makes you wonder whether or not we're going to see a little bit of perhaps a pullback of sorts. Maybe a move back to the hard edge, which would be here at around the 7112 area. Speaking of which, we were talking about this the other week, cloud sizes. So the top of the cloud sitting around 7124, the bottom of the cloud 7112. So that's 12 points, 4 ticks a point. Yeah, that's a fairly broad cloud right there. What happens is as the cloud gets wide, it does have a tendency to pull back. So here we have a cloud that's 7117 down to 7100. So again, that's about a 50 some odd tick cloud. So we did get a sell signal right here. It did not qualify as one of our high probability signals. However, it may be interesting to see if we come back now and produce a number 2 signal. That would be one of our high probability signals. And we could potentially look for a pullback here to the hard edge. The big trend still up, however, or at least out of the open. All right, let's put that away for now. It's okay to let trades go by that you're not sure about. You can always just make a note of them. I'll show you this number 2 signal, the one that's printing right here. As you know, I'm not a big fan of counter trend trades, but there you go. This will produce a number 2 signal, or it is a number 2 signal, even though, there you go, printed the number 2. And we would look now for a retrace back to the hard edge, or you can just take your high probability target. And move back down here to the primary resistance line. That's that blue line right here. Also, not an unreasonable target. Oh, actually, speaking of which, we have an opening gap as well, don't we? So maybe the market will even try to get into that opening gap. You know what? It's kind of quiet here this morning. I would recommend taking profit on the hard edge, but we don't have a whole lot going on. So let me see about extending my target down here, this would bring us into the opening gap if the market retraced back here to the somewhere near the median line, which is at 70.85 3/4. But like I said, the target for this trade is the hard edge. So somewhere around the 71.14, 71.15 zone. Okay, a little bit more and we would get to our profit target. Oh, come on. So the hawk giving us a first micro macro cross lower. We're producing the warning dots there. Signal actually, although I think that one, yeah, that one could be interpreted as the first micro macro cross also. It looks as though the macro line did come into sync. If you like to see your warning dot on a in sync macro line, then you would still be waiting. You'd be looking for this signal to develop. The Falcon in the middle of a trend change signal, so that's also looking good. So the Hawk, the Falcon, the Raptor, pretty much in sync. The Eagle still a little bit more bullish. And currently we're moving from trend mode into swing mode and scalp mode in about another half an hour. So at the bottom of the hour, we can probably anticipate things to become a little messier still. Oh boy. This now a big test for the buyers. Into the first hard edge here on the Raptor. If the buyers come up from here, they will produce a number 3 signal. And then it's essentially do or die for the buyers. They're either going to rally the market up or the sellers are going to take it away from them. Here now that number 3 signal. If you are inclined to do OCO orders, there's an opportunity for you here. You could buy above the high, you could sell below this low. I'm already short, so I won't duplicate the order. Okay, here now another number 2 signal after a number 3. These make for some pretty reliable setups when you get a number 2 after a number 3. All right, so we have hit our high probability profit objective. I think what I'll do at this point is I will institute my ATR stops and just allow the ATR to manage my trade from here on out. It looks like it will probably do a pretty good job. You know, we have a whole assortment of different stop strategies here, so feel free to experiment to find one that you like. This last little hurdle should see the market tail off at least somewhere near the open. I think the primary resistance line, a very reasonable target. Come on. We're kind of, it's like we're trading in slow motion here. Okay, now we're making some progress. The seller's putting it into gear. Okay, we got another little bounce going on here. Okay, we're making a move now toward the low of the morning, back here to 7,100, which you can imagine would be a fairly influential number for this market. And if we manage to ride out the next swing, there's a very good chance the market will try to fill the opening gap. All right, here now we're below the primary resistance line, just hovering above the low of the morning. If, like I said, if we can ride out this swing, there's a very strong chance for the market to move down here toward the opening range gap. If we ride out this swing, I think I'll probably move to a more aggressive stop strategy, perhaps the parabolic or maybe even the bar high low. First things first. Well, okay, so that bounce was a little bit bigger than anticipated, but still a fairly decent move overall. And now you can see our clouds have crossed again. They are now more bearish. We're getting that little bit of a pullback. So there is a chance that maybe if the market comes out of here, it will produce another number one signal. But overall, you can see we are still very, very neutral on the day, including the overnight. We're still in this rather tight sideways trading pattern. Okay, so here now getting a little bit of a pullback. Like I said, the Raptor may flash a buy signal, or pardon me, a sell signal. The Hawk actually producing a little bit of a buy signal here now. An early buy signal. We've got ourselves a green bar sell. These tend to develop near the end of a trend. So if you suspected we're in the midst of a sideways trading range, you might consider buying a break above there and looking for the market perhaps to retrace back into this trading range. You can also just use the trade as an early warning that the trend may be ending, or to alert you to the possibility of a first micro macro cross higher. And there we go, a quick little scalp. It looks like the market may actually give a little bit more follow through on that. And now we're fairly neutral again as we're trading right in the middle of today's activity. So there you go. Kind of a quiet, lazy sort of day in the market. Really odd for a Monday. Okay, the Hawk scalper here actually producing a first micro macro cross, which is to be anticipated after the green bar sell. Oh, Richard, I'm sorry, I missed your question here earlier. Richard was asking about the number 3 signal, and I'm glad you asked this. And again, I apologize for not seeing your question earlier. So Richard's asking, does the long number 3 invalidate the number 2 signal? And this, I actually get this question a lot because people get confused. Well, I got a signal to sell. Now I got a signal to buy. What should I do? It kind of goes back to the whole context thing. And you need to remember that these signal prompts are just that. They are prompts. They are there to alert you to the fact that, hey, all the high probability signal requirements have been met, and now it's time for you to make a decision about this trade. So taking the market context into account, I would not consider the number 3 signal to invalidate the number 2 signal. So what is the market context? Okay, well, we have a market that rallied, or pardon me, was pretty quiet in the overnight, rallied out of the open, and then all of a sudden started to stall. We even made a little bit of a double top here, and at this point I considered, all right, it's probably, I'm going to try a counter trend trade. I gave myself a reasonably big stop, and I decided to give the trade a whirl. Now, as with all counter trend trades, well, all trades actually, but when you're trading, you're always trading off probability for risk. The greater the risk, the higher the probability that the trade will work out. The lower the risk, the lower the probability will work out, that the trade will work out. So here we have a trade which is essentially a low probability trade because we're trading against what may be an established trend. But in exchange for that, we can actually, in hindsight, we could do the trade much tighter. We could set up the trade so that we had about a little over $100 at risk. So a little while later, now we get a number 3 signal. So now the question is, does this number 3 signal invalidate the number 2 signal? No, because I still had my reasons for taking my short signal. The trading cloud was getting a little bit broad. The market looked like it was topping out to me. I expected a pullback here to the hard edge. I would take a number 3 signal, and I think I mentioned that at this point we kind of have the market pinched. We can short it below here, we can buy it above here. But because I was already short, I didn't worry about the buy signal. Now, had the market rallied and gotten through here, obviously it would have stopped me out. At that point, I would start to consider a buy. I would say, okay, I was wrong about selling, and so the market's broken through, it's reacting higher. I will now look to buy. Essentially, a second push type opportunity on the number 3 signal. When the market reversed again, however, and started trading lower, and then we came back with yet another number 2 signal, this was actually a very strong sign that the trade was going to move lower. So if you get a number 3 signal if you see the market kind of topping out a little bit, and then all of a sudden you get a number 3 signal, followed immediately by a number 2 signal, there is a very good chance the market's going to reverse and head a little bit lower. I probably didn't make that as clear as I could have. But like I said, a lot of times the question always goes back to context. Who is in control? You're never going to have all the pieces to the puzzle, so don't even worry about that. You have to go with what you think, right? So right now the band is, well, we're waffling. We went from bullish to bearish to bullish. If we come up from here now and we produce a buy signal, that may suggest the buyers are going to hold on to the market and we can try to rally it up. Or the band's going to flip lower again and it's eventually going to start twisting up like a rope, pretty much confirming that we are in a sideways trading range. And of course, Trade Forecaster confirming that nonsense with a scalp mode for the better part of the next hour. We're still sideways. I know we just produced a number 1 signal right here. And it has the possibility to break out lower. Pardon me. But again, just kind of looking at the day, I think I would be more inclined to maybe let the breakout occur. I don't know. It's a bit of a tough call right now, which way the market is leaning. I'm not sure there really is a bias right now. And remember too, as a trader, you don't need to chase every single signal. You can hold out for what you consider to be the highest probability signals. Oh, pardon me. Okay, well, look at this. We're getting a little bit of a bounce back on the Raptor into the hard edge. That could produce a number 3 signal if the market continues lower. The Falcon trying to produce a late filter entry signal. So there's a few things going on here to suggest that maybe the market's going to try to get short. Here on the Eagle, we're also into the hard edge, producing a bit of a trend change. I don't know, I might be more comfortable putting a trend line across the bottom and maybe shorting below the trend line. Things are setting up a little bit, but it's, I don't know, it's still so very, very neutral. What you could do, I suppose, is see the Falcon late filter entry signal spoiled now. The trend line changed color. I was going to say, I suppose what you could do is you could set up a, just in case the bottom falls out of the market order. So you had an order in play if in fact the sellers are going to keep pushing it down. Like I said, you will get a number 3 signal from here. Perhaps not the best looking signal of the day, especially given the sideways nature of the market. In fact, I think I would prefer to see them rally from here. All right, we'll just scrub that. It really isn't an ideal opportunity. And you can see now we're kind of going dead sideways again. Yeah, you can see the waffling just continuing back and forth. What we're doing is we're actually building quite the wedge. And again, that's not at all unusual in a sideways market. Well, you know what? It almost looks like we're not going to get anything else going on here this morning. We are just back and forth, back now toward the top end of the trading range. That move out of the open may well have been the move of the day, and honestly, I can't believe how quiet everything is here this morning. I think we're going to button up shop for the day. This is the trading equivalent of watching paint dry. And I think all we're going to do is see more of the same, the market moving back and forth, at least until we kind of get out of scalp mode, which looks like it's probably going to be after lunch. After lunch, we may see the market actually commit to something and give us a move. If I had to guess, I think I might continue to be more bullish than bearish, but that's just kind of a gut check kind of guess, and it's driven mostly by the early rally. Of course, the longer the market spends in this sideways trading range, the less effect that early rally will have on what's going on in the market. But honestly, there is nothing happening right now, and until the market gets outside of that range, there's really no point in trading anything, because you're probably just going to get whipsawed. The market's probably just going to grind you in and out of positions until it finally settles in on a direction. But like I said, if I had to choose right now at this point, I would probably be a little bit more bullish than bearish, but that's really just, like I said, a bit of a gut check guess. All right, everyone, I will talk to you Tuesday. Have yourselves a great day. Bye for now.